Hi, Sparks here. So if you're following my socials, you may have seen that I have decided to put the Chromie project on hold indefinitely. And I am still working with Blue microphones and using the Mevo Multicam system to make a video project following the process of building a cosplay from start to finish. I'm just choosing a different subject matter. So I have decided to do a bit of a change up and go away from my norm. About 95% of my costumes are Blizzard costumes. Heroes of the Storm, World of Warcraft. I think the only armor set that I have is my Leafeon, which was a design by Tegakun. She designed that specifically for me, and it's, I think, the only non-Blizzard armor that I have. So I thought it was time to finally make something else from a different game. And I wanted to choose something that I was passionate about, that I've spent a lot of time playing, that I know really well, and that I would stick with it, and that I really want to make this. So one of my favorite games is Guild Wars. My very first online game was the original Guild Wars. 9 years ago, they came out with Guild Wars 2. And I was really excited because I loved Guild Wars art style, and I loved the lore and just the whole, it was just very nostalgic for me because I played all the regular Guild Wars games. So I was there on day one when when it launched, Guild Wars 2. And I still have my original character from launch day. She just had her 9th birthday, my necromancer, Maple. So I have put a lot of time into the game. I love the game. I'm currently playing Guild Wars again, if you're on Jade Quarry and want to come play. So it was just a nostalgic thing for me to finally cosplay something from the Guild Wars franchise, and Guild Wars 2 has such amazing armor sets and stuff. So I decided to go with something that pretty much anybody can obtain in game. I didn't want it to be something that you can only get through raiding, that you had to, use a whole bunch of gems in the gem store to get. That pretty much with a week's worth of grinding, maybe you can get the set. Anybody can get it. So I decided to go with a carapace armor. My necromancer actually wears the cloth version, and that version is a bit too revealing for me, and I would have had to make a lot of alterations to be comfortable in that version. The heavy version is beautiful, but is a bit more than I had budgeted for time and stuff for this project. So that was a bit too much. So I'm going the middle of the road, the medium armor version of the carapace set. And I actually didn't have this version, so I had to spend a few days on my ranger going around doing the world events and stuff to get the currency to finish up the set and have the whole set so that I could have it for reference, so that I can take pictures and all that stuff. So once I got it, I had to decide on colors. Because in Guild Wars 2, you can pretty much dye anything, any color you want as far as armor. You can't dye weapons and things, but you can sometimes have 3 or 4 different colors on your armor, and you can dye it however you want. So I came up with a few color combos that I really liked. Then I asked people on Twitter what some of their color combos were, their favorite mixes of 3 colors, and I got some really awesome suggestions that I never would have thought of. So then I took some of my favorites of my own, some of my favorites that people had suggested to me, and I kind of put them up to a vote on all of my socials and then tallied it all together, and there was a clear kind of 3-way tie between 3 of the colorings. And I really love getting everyone involved in that way, because Guild Wars 2 isn't quite as cosplayed and popular in the cosplay community as World of Warcraft and stuff. So I really want to get people who might not even know the game very well involved and excited and feel like they're participating in this, because you all are participating when I am making a cosplay, because it's not just for me. Like, I want everyone to enjoy it when I'm done with it and wearing it, and it's there, you know, for all of you to be like, "Ooh, that's really cool looking," and or learn from it while I'm making it. So I had my 3 like final colorings, and I looked at 2 of them and realized that they were very similar to the colorings that I have done in like half of my cosplays. They were like variations of blues with a little bit of teal, maybe a little bit of purple, but basically the same as Arthas and Malfurion and my Nightface set and Muradin. Everything I make is kind of like blues and stuff. So I ended up deciding to go with the red and purple and kind of like a coppery gold color, because that I thought was a bit different for me. So once I figured all that out, I had to start breaking it down as far as what am I going to make the different pieces out of. So the first thing that I looked at was the bodysuit. To me, it looked like it was a suede or maybe even a velvet of some kind. So I had gone and I got this. It was supposed to be a faux suede. And in the store, to me, it didn't look far off from the faux suedes that I have used in the past, which is like this, which I really like. It has like variations in the color and looks, you know, pretty natural. But this one doesn't have as much of that texture, like the fuzz that suede has. So it just looked very flat to me, and I wasn't very impressed with it. So I had also gotten a stretch faux suede, which to me looked like it had more of that fuzzy texture that suede has, but I couldn't find white. I could only find off-white. And so I tried dyeing it several times, and it wouldn't take. Like, no matter how long I left it in the dye, like no matter what, you know, how much purple I added, how much red I added, how concentrated it was, it always came out like a pastel color. And it might be because it wasn't pure white, that the fibers already had off-white in them, like the beige color. So it just doesn't soak in enough of the dye. Because I even used Rit Dye More, which is a dye that can be used on synthetics and natural fibers. So it wasn't working, and I wasn't going to fight with it anymore, especially because I had other options. I had also gotten a velvet, which I tried a few different times, different lengths of time to dye it red. And like the longer I left it in, the darker it got. And then I decided to add some purple and things like that. So eventually I got it quite close to like what I want. I think this is pretty close to the color. It might be a touch too purple, but it's close. A lot of people that I showed this swatch to really like it for the bodysuit, so I'm leaning this way. But I also really like this stretch denim that I got. I love how rich the color turned out, and I actually did a darker version as well. So I really liked this stretch denim, but it doesn't have quite as much of like the color variation as the velvet obviously does. So I'm probably gonna go with the velvet. It's just, for some reason, I've never used velvet in a cosplay. To me, it doesn't scream like naturey fantasy armor, because I think my brain goes right to like 1994 when I was in junior high and going to a Christmas dance or something, like my dresses that were made out of velvet and awful. So like I just feel like there's a border, a very thin line to cross, but when it comes to velvet, between like pretty and like cheesy. So I don't know, like velvet to me is just a weird fabric to use. But it seems like it's a good fit for like the look that I'm going for. So I probably will use it, though I'm still torn. So then I had to go into the detail fabrics, like the shorts and the sash thing that's all like wrapped around the purple sash. So instantly when I saw the sash, I thought of like a gauze fabric, like this. which I have not tried dyeing yet. But it has like a texture to it, like kind of like a wrinkly texture. And I felt like that's what I saw when I saw it like wrapped around. But then as I looked down towards the bottom of the sashes, I saw it has these kind of rune designs like embossed, like, but it looks like it's still all part of the same wrapping. So then I thought maybe I should use something that was more rigid, something stiffer, but also had enough stretch and was thin enough that I could make those designs in EVA foam and then use spray adhesive and press the fabric on top, and it would look embossed with the fabric over top. I don't know if that will work with this gauze fabric. So my other option is to use the stretch denim, which I had dyed purple, and use this stretched denim and kind of do that same effect. I've done the effect before in a similar way when I made Malfurion's coattails. They have like a 3D beveled kind of edge to them that I used a very similar suede type stuff as this, and used spray adhesive and covered it, but because it's stretchy, it worked. This gauze isn't stretchy really, and it has that texture. So I don't know if it's really gonna work for this effect. So I am gonna do a bit more testing tomorrow to see 100% whether or not that is going to work. The denim should work because it is stretchy. And it's pretty thin. I know denim normally isn't very thin, but this is actually pretty thin and stretchy. So it could work for those sashes and stuff. So I'm kind of torn on that too, and it's gonna take me dyeing this and doing some testing to see how I can get that raised effect, because I don't really want to do two different fabrics. I don't think that makes sense to use like the denim for the part that hangs down and then the gauze for the part that wraps around, because it's obviously supposed to be the same material the whole way. So a little bit more playing around to do there. Some of the other like material things that I needed to figure out were the butterfly panels, like the skirt panels that go around. Originally, I thought that they should be flowy, like a fabric, but they don't really have much movement in game. And the more and more I looked at them, I realized how important the texture is on those pieces. So I'm going to do them in a similar manner as the petals on Leafeon's skirt. I'm going to be using a thinner EVA foam that I can carve that texture into. So those are going to be made out of EVA foam. The other stuff that's obviously EVA is like the shoulder, the big chunky shoulder. I'm also going to make the butterfly out of EVA. Then collar piece, the rings and stuff that are on the bracers and the boots. All that's my normal EVA stuff. But then I saw the tubing stuff, and I have been going back and forth whether or not I should try to find plastic tubing at like Home Depot or a hardware store, because I have seen like black tubing with a similar ridge texture. But the problem with that is that if I use a plastic tubing, in order to paint it, I have to use a spray paint. Pretty much have to spray paint it with a primer and then spray paint it with a metallic paint. It's really hard to get paint to stick to plastic as it is. So that would be my best bet. Anytime that you're painting like PVC, usually spray paints and spray paint primers are like the easiest to do, but then you lose flexibility, and I'm afraid that the paint will chip off over time. So I'm thinking of making them out of EVA foam and basically taking like a 9 gauge or 12 gauge steel wire. I have a lot of galvanized steel wire from like making the wings for Malfurion and stuff. So making, the shape out of that and then taking EVA foam dowels and slicing them, and then, you know, adding some detail like dremeling the edges of the little rings and then threading them back onto the wire, and kind of making that tubey look out of EVA foam. So that's probably how I'm going to do it versus trying to paint plastic and get plastic to not chip and crack and things like that with like spray paints. And I don't like spray paint. I don't like anything that sprays really. Like I don't like airbrushing or spray paint. I like painting everything by hand. So that's probably how I'll do it with EVA. The next thing that was, you know, a very important piece to me is the corset, the underbust corset, and then the thigh armors. When I looked really closely, they seem to have a different texture than the like shiny smooth shoulder and the shiny smooth rings on the bracers. They have like a leathery texture when you really zoom in on the character creation screen and stuff. So I decided I wanted to add another texture and not just make those out of EVA foam and like use like a Dremel or soldering tool to carve those designs in. I really wanted to get, you know, do a totally different effect, but obviously keep the same colors as the armor. So what I decided to do was get faux leather. I believe this was one of Yaya Han's faux leathers. And so I bought this, and it's nice and thin and like pliable. So what I decided to do was try to quilt it, which is an effect that you do see in leather work and stuff. I have seen quilted leather on like gauntlets and stuff. Sometimes you'll see like diamond hatching quilting on gauntlets and things. So I was like, well, maybe I can do that same sort of effect and just do like a more intricate, like crazy design like that's on this armor. So I did some testing, and what I ended up doing was this kind of quilted design here. I just doodled a design on some interfacing, the dissolvable interfacing stuff. And I'll go over like more detail how I actually did this in the sewing video and stuff. So I'm not going to go into a whole tutorial right now, but this is the test that I did using the flex foam interfacing and the faux leather. And then I just backed it with some faux suede that I had. And then I painted it with Angelus leather paint and some of the DecoArt metallics and fabric paints and things that they have, just to try to get different. Like this was a swatch to see what different like metallic shades. Like I can add a little bit more orange, I can add a little bit more red, things like that. I really want to get like that sunset color theme through the whole thing. So I'll be playing around with the paints to try to get different like oranges and copper colors in with golds to give it a really warm, not just like my original Chromie and my Heroes of the Storm Chromie have gold armor, but it's just gold. It's like plain old gold. I really want to get different variations of like copper and stuff in with this one. So I think I'm going to use the faux leather for that to add interest. The other things are like the gems. I'll probably do some simple mold making for those. Nothing crazy. I probably won't even light them. I might actually just add like metallic pigments and stuff to the resin itself and just make them opaque metallic kind of gems. But I'll do a tutorial on how to do like simple mold making and making your originals and then casting them and all that stuff. The flowers, I think, were like the last thing. And I thought I could easy enough make them out of EVA foam, like thin, high density, 2mm thick EVA foam, cut out the petals and stuff. But I kind of wanted to add another different texture. And I thought maybe actually having like silk flowers or something like that would be more interesting. So I found flowers that are similar. They have a bit more petals going on, so they're a bit busier. But I also got alcohol inks that I kind of want to try painting these with alcohol inks to get the black edging and add some dimension in the center with some darker reds and stuff. But this, I realized it's not really fabric. It's more like a foam rubber kind of a stuff. almost like scuba diver material. So I'm going to try messing around with like the alcohol inks and the acrylic paints and fabric paints and stuff. See what kind of looks I can get. If I don't like how it looks, if it ends up looking too busy, if I want bigger individual petals, then I'll just make them from scratch out of foam. But I would like to try these, and because like I can make one smaller than the other, even though I only have this size. If I take like the back couple layers of petals out, it makes a smaller flower. So I'm gonna play around with them. They might be too busy, I don't know. So that's basically how I broke it down. I think one of the last choices I have to make is the wig color. Normally I go with Arta wigs, and a lot of my friends told me that they thought purple would be the best color for a wig because a lot did say red, but for some reason when I tried red on my character in game, it just was like too much red. Because the main bodysuit is red, I guess. Purple seemed to balance out the colors best. The other option is to just do like a natural colored, like brunette or blonde, normal hair colors that are, neutral and kind of go with everything. So I'm still torn by the wig color. I will here's some examples of what the character looks like with different color hairs if you want to leave a comment. If you haven't given me your opinion yet on what color wig you think I should go with, it's always appreciated having some opinions. Because like I said, I love everyone getting involved, are able to give me color opinions or fabric opinions. So if you want to give me your opinion on like whether I should go with the stretch denim or the velvet for the bodysuit, if you want to, give me your opinion on the sashes, if I should go with the stretch denim or that gauze fabric, the wig, which color wig. And I can't say I will 100% go with what everyone else wants because, obviously final choice I have to feel it in my heart. But sometimes not agreeing with people helps the decisions even more. If you are given the option of A, B, and C, and deep in your heart, you want option A, and everyone chooses option C, and every time somebody chooses option C, your heart breaks a little bit more, you know that you really, really, really should go with option A. So a lot of times not agreeing with people's opinions is just as helpful as when their opinions help you choose and it clicks that light switch in your brain. So as of now, there will not be a prop with this project because there's a lot more elements to the actual costume. It's a lot more intricate than Chromie. So I'll be making like butterflies and flowers and things, and that'll kind of take the place of a weapon. Not saying that I won't make a weapon for it. It just won't be part of this, initial set of 7 videos or whatever. So this is my intro video. Next video is going to be patterning. I am not going to go into as crazy detail as I did for the patterning video this time, because the Chromie one will be up. The patterning video for Chromie will stay on my YouTube. Where I go into extreme detail of how to, prepare your dress form, how to cut the patterns off and cut them apart and make your, flat patterns. I'm pretty much just going to be filming me doing all that stuff on my dress form and for this project, and just filming it while I do it, and then kind of doing like a voice over the time lapse, explaining what it is I'm doing. And then if you really want to see like the very detail of how you do that, you can always reference that video that I made before on patterning. I hope that you all find this project interesting to follow along. I know that Guild Wars 2 isn't quite as popular as World of Warcraft, but like I said, if you want to come play with me. It's free to play. The original, the base game of Guild Wars 2 is free to play. So you can come and check it out. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous game. Or follow me on Twitter, and I will continue to post amazing screenshots of all the beautiful places that I discover because it's such a fun game to run around and explore and do jumping puzzles and find yourself in like this crazy cave full of gorgeous vines and stuff, and you had no idea that it was even there because you had to jump in this crazy spot to even get there. So it's really fun, and hopefully that this will bring a little bit more interest because they're coming out with another expansion next year. So so it's still there, it's still going strong, a lot of people still play, and I hope that those people will appreciate, you know, it's few and far between that you see Guild Wars 2 cosplay, so I hope people will get excited to finally see another one come about, and maybe inspire some of you to make Guild Wars 2 costumes with me. So I will see you in the next video, which will be patterning for the Carapace armor. So I will see you then. Bye.